this ain't a game. Truth Seekers 88, we reclaim no mask, no lies, no doubt, no pause. We see the system, we know the cause. We ain't blind, we raid the signs. Contracts twist, but we hold the line. Mike stands tall, the sheepdogs ride. Admin's watching, truth stays alive. We laugh together, cry as one. Tribe ain't broken, we ain't done. Justice lives, truth runs deep, heart to heart. Family speaks, no more shadows, no disguise. We see past the blinding lies. Hand in hand we walk, we show. Truth Seekers 88, let them know. Through the fight, through the years, through the laughter, through the tears. Sheepdogs, the admin stand. Truth Seekers 88, we take a stand.
Hey, welcome. Glad to have everybody here. We're going to jump right into it. Today is 6/12/2025. As you see, we have Joe with us tonight and Cause. So we'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Would you like to say anything before we get started, Joe?
Well, no, just go ahead and I think she's got some questions already lined up so we'll pretty much fall right into whatever it is we want to talk about. Okay. And well, if we have time at the end, I would kind of like to have some questions from the comments, if there's something we not covered.
Sounds good.
Because I don't believe we'll be able to cover everything that everybody wants to know on what we're doing. So there's always questions to be asked, and we'll do our best to answer them for you.
Sounds good. So we're going to cover several topics with Joe, right? Right off the bat, do you know any of the topics, Joe, that we're going to be discussing? That way, if they have a question, they can already be starting to think about that.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to cover all types of debt, income tax, property tax, credit card debt, mortgages and all, and it's all pretty much based on the same thing. There's just a little different process. I mean, the same process for each one of them, but there's a little bit different documents that you have to have for each process. So, but the main thing is you need to do it.
There you go. All right, let me go ahead and get started here, then we'll jump right in. I think you'll like this one, Joe. So we create monsters, and it's literally killing us, by Larkin Rose.
Monsters in this world. And those people who are not aware of the monsters in this world and don't know how to recognize them and don't know how to identify them are at a distinct disadvantage and are vulnerable. I'm not talking about vampires and werewolves, but I am talking about people who look like us and can act like us for the most part, but do not think like most of us. They do not function like most of us. Specifically, I'm talking about sociopaths and psychopaths, but even more specifically, toxic narcissists. Most of us are already familiar with the fact that political power or any power attracts narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths. But I also mean that the state as a whole, as an institution, functions down to the detail the way toxic narcissist functions. And the reason that's worth knowing is because the same methods that defeat and disempower individuals who are toxic narcissists can also be used to disempower tyrants and tyrannical regimes. So, most of what I'm going to say today applies in two very distinct ways. The former you may or may not care about, the latter I hope you do. Methods to use and things to know so that you don't give narcissistic people power over you, and more importantly, that we don't give narcissistic states power over the world. You will never meet the real them. Everything they do 24 hours a day in front of other people is an act. They are pretending. They are pretending with the sole goal of getting you to be a source of power and attention for them. Every political campaign is exactly that. What is he going to pretend to be? We're going to look at the polls. We think if you get in the back of a pickup truck and you wear this, people will think you're one of them. That's how they think. The monsters basically think, what do I have to pretend to be to get them to give me power, to get them to give me control over them? It's the same with the individual as it is with the individual politician and with government as a whole. Government's the nastiest tyranny you can think of. Never did they come out and say, we want power because we want to control you and dominate you and probably hurt you and steal a bunch of stuff from you. They always, always, always say, we are here to serve you. We are here to help you. They are always putting up a front, putting on the act that looks like it's for your benefit. All the rhetoric about we serve you, a servant government that represents the people. That was BS from day one. They gravitate towards those positions of power to get power for themselves. In their view, you are only ever a source of attention and glory and praise and money and power for them. In psychology, that's referred to as being a supply. The toxic narcissist tries to find somebody who will supply them with endless and unconditional adoration and subservience and all that nasty stuff. Often such people are into something called neuro-linguistic programming. This is basically the understanding of how little words and gestures can control somebody else. The campaign speeches, I feel your pain, I'm one of you, and I'm going to go make the hard decisions and work for you, by way of telling you what to do and stealing your money. They don't say the last part, but we all know that's what government does. Government is violence, but they don't pitch it as that. They pitch it as, we're on your side. Now, in the case of individual narcissists, they do something called love bombing, which is, oh, you're so awesome, you're so great in so many ways, I just totally adore you, you're outstanding, to get their hooks in you. And then once you're committed, then the hooks dig deeper. And you start to see little glimpses of, wait a minute, they're not serving us, they don't care about us, they just wanted us captive. They just put bait in the trap to get us close enough to snare us. That is every election that ever happens, regardless of who wins it. And it's not just about persuasion, because that's something we should all be good at. It's specifically about deception. I'm going to feed you an incorrect description of me, of reality, to trick you into putting yourself into a position where you're vulnerable to me so I can feed off of you. Everybody else exists to serve them. And you can totally see this, especially when you know, tapes, the Nixon tapes come out and things come out that show what they talk about behind the scenes. And oddly, it doesn't match their campaign persona, does it? And they believe they are entitled to our service. But if they come out and say, I'm going to help the poor and I'm going to do this and I'm going to take care of everybody and I'm going to protect you and I'm going to make sure everything's okay, and I'm not going to mention that the way I'm going to do that is by violence. I'm going to talk as if I'm here to help you to get the claws in. Now, as long as you're a good little supply to the narcissist or to the ruling class, they seem pretty nice. People talk about, I've never had a problem with the police because I do as I'm told, like a good little subject. So they're nice to me. I pick my cotton in the field. The master never whips me. That's because you serve him. You're good livestock. But when somebody decides not to be good livestock, again, whether it's the individual or the subject of a state, and they start to think, maybe you're not perfect, maybe my life shouldn't be about serving you, then you see the monster behind the mask, and they tend to let that slip when they get frustrated when you don't talk, as if they are gods with every right to rule you and control you. Suddenly, out comes the violence. And then you get treated like trash and demonized and slandered. And in the case of government, you get violently attacked by their thugs with guns. Here's the nastiest part of government and narcissists. They primarily feed off of people's goodness. Their primary victims are people with excess patience and empathy and goodness and trusting and forgiveness. Because those people project their own goodness onto the narcissist or the ruling class. Well, they sound sincere. They sound like they want to help. I would want to help. So I'm going to assume they want to help. And that is what makes it so despicable that it works best on the best people. The people who are most caring, are most compassionate. And that is who individual toxic narcissists target, and it is who governments target. The political left comes out, if you care about the children and the poor and the elderly and the sick and the yada, 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 you will give me the power to help them. And millions and millions and millions of people vote themselves into subservience and slavery because their goodness was used against them. And it's the same on the political right. We're going to protect the innocent from all the nasty, scary threats out there, whether it's foreigners or crime or drugs or whatever. We're going to protect the innocent. They appeal to people's goodness to make them into slaves, and that is what makes it so profoundly evil. The last thing they want is for you to have your own life and your own dreams and your own freedom. You ever wonder why the hell politicians spend day after day after day thinking of new ways to forcibly interfere in your life? To whatever extent your desires and feelings and intentions don't serve them, they will sabotage you and tear you down. Projection. When George Bush says they hate us for our freedoms, guess who hates you for your freedoms? The guy who said that. Guess who doesn't care about your freedoms or you or doesn't know anything about you? It's somebody in a cave on the other side of the world. They might care about their freedoms and not be too thrilled about the U.S. military blowing them up, but they're not out to get your freedoms. But the narcissist saying that somebody else is, he's saying that because he is. And narcissists can be amazingly specific and precise in the projection. They will exactly describe themselves when telling you how bad of a person you are. They will accuse you of being exactly what they are. And every politician there are scary, nasty, dishonest people out there. I will protect you from them. You are them. You are not protecting anybody from them. You are pretending that what you are is out there and that you are the savior against that. One of the biggest tactics they use is called triangulation, or in the political realm, that is divide and conquer. They have to pit us against each other. If we're all getting along, if we're all open and vulnerable and human, what the hell would we need a politician for? They need us to be scared of something. They need us to be distrustful. And so they talk to different groups to make them distrustful. Let's see if we can make white people distrustful of black people. Let's see if we can make black people distrustful of white people. Rich, poor, male, female, this country, that country, this religion, that religion. We will pit them against each other. Now, in the case of the individual toxic narcissist, they will gossip to everybody you know, one at a time, telling bad things about every other person you know, to divide everything, like dividing it up into a pie and turning them all against you, so that in the end you are isolated and afraid and looking to them for protection. Gee, what does government always freaking do? Try to make you scared of other races, other nationalities, people who aren't like you, people who speak different languages. so that you are scared and feel isolated, and you look out at the world and go, they're going to come take our freedoms. Please, government, help us. And while they're doing the fear and division trick, they keep doing it until the people are doing it themselves. And they sit back and chuckle as white and black scream at each other, rich and poor scream at each other. Or on the individual level, people are mad at each other based on the lies that the narcissist made up about both of them. And they sit back and chuckle, realizing I'm breaking all the ties. I'm weakening all of them so that this one person, my supply, has nowhere to turn, has no power, is trapped. Yes, they really are that screwed up. That really is how they think. And like I said at the beginning, that puts normal people at a disadvantage because most of us cannot fathom looking at the rest of society that way. I want to make everybody hate each other and make everybody think that they need to give me power and glory and attention to save the day. If we can't fathom that, we don't expect it in others. Again, we project our own goodness on others. That makes us vulnerable because we think they would never do that. To anybody who ever says they would never do that about government, read the Operation Northwoods documents because that's what they are. That's what the monsters are. They're not what they do in front of a TV camera when they're trying to get your vote. And decent people need to understand that to stop falling for the lies.
And there you go. Operation Northwoods.
Yeah, I think we covered that before, didn't we? And they was going to attack their own citizens here for the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Because they wanted a war. Go look that up.
So to add to it, it's not left versus right.
Rich versus poor.
Or rich versus poor.
Religion.
Black versus white. This religion versus that religion. Like you see in a lot of narratives being pushed about different religions. But America was founded on freedom of religion. For all.
And we're a melting pot here of all different races.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Then we can go into abridging speech, freedom of press, and the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government in a redress of grievances. But that's hard when you got operatives going out there and pretending to be the people that are protesting when you're not. And then the people fall for that narrative. The infiltrators. We can all agree that nobody wants to see cars burn or buildings looted or any kind of violence whatsoever. I think both sides condemn that. And that's where we can meet in the middle right there. But we got to understand the deception taking place and the tactics being used by foreign militaries on our soil. So that was a really powerful video right there, in my opinion. I hope it helped somebody tonight with everything that's taken place and the divide and conquer tactics. Because we forget history, we're doomed to repeat it. And we can go back to Nazi Germany for an example. You got this soldier right here saying, "Do not shoot Hugo." His name's Hugo, and Hugo says, "Orders are orders. They are enemies, and this is war." Right? The order followers. The people that can't stop for a minute and go, "Hold on, man, is this lawful or unlawful?" Order. And especially if you're in the military, you have the right to disobey any unlawful order of anyone appointed over you. But the thing is, the president is the only one that has immunity. The UCMJ is what holds the military accountable. So you have to ask yourself these tough questions right now in times like this, putting everything aside. But the U.S. Constitution names the president as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces and at the top of the chain of military command. While Congress has the constitutional authority to declare war and to fund or not fund military actions, presidents have expanded the scope of their war powers over time through their own actions. At times, Congress has also explicitly or implicitly delegated this power to the president. The president thus has the significant discretion over how the military is used, both internationally and domestically. This has led to criticism of Congress' ability and willingness to rein in the executive branch when it comes to the use of force. These provisions give the president discretion to determine when a situation warrants intervention, and the Supreme Court has opinion that such a determination by the president is not subject to the judicial review. Martin versus Mott, 25 U.S. 1827. The president can call the state National Guard into federal service without any participation from Congress. If the president wants to avoid invoking the Insurrection Act, he can also use the 32 USC 502F, which allows a governor to order their National Guard to support a presidentially ordered mission paid for by the federal government, but remain in state status. This provision is less flexible as National Guard troops in this status technically cannot be sent into another state that does not accept their presence, but they could be used within willing states to enforce federal immigration law, for instance. This provision is less flexible as National Guard troops in this status technically cannot be sent into another state that does not accept their presence. So the president has immunity, however, the military does not have immunity, and that's where you have to have a conscience.
Yeah, that's when you use your conscience. Is this order a lawful order, or should I disobey this order?
All right. So those in the military carrying out the president's orders, however, are not protected by presidential immunity. This means military personnel could be prosecuted for following an unlawful order. That's drilled into us in boot camp. Everybody's aware of that. I don't know if they fully understand that. According to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ, lawful orders are those that are reasonably specific and they do not conflict with constitutional or statutory rights and have a military purpose. All right. So just something to think about. Remember the oath that you took, right? That's all that is.
Video
I got one.
of the guy, the military guy.
Oh, that one? Yeah, this one right here.
So, as a current officer in the National Guard, I am. And if these threats and intimidation are not stopped, there is an appropriate time for the National Guard.
So that's Big Mike Johnson talking about the National Guard, and there's an appropriate time to call them in. And the captain here is going to discuss that. But he can only discuss it within the constraints of the Hatch Act.
So, as a current officer in the National...
Hold on. Somebody's on the screen. Let me get them back on. Oh, there we go.
So, as a current officer in the National Guard, I am not allowed to talk about this issue. However, what I am going to do is sit here and read publicly domained information about your First Amendment right and your freedom of speech. And also read publicly domained information about the National Guard. So, the reason why I cannot talk about anything or express my opinion is due to the Hatch Act. And the Hatch Act states, a covered employee may not engage in political activity while the employee is on duty in a federal room or building, while wearing a uniform or official insignia, or using any federally owned or leased vehicle. For example, the employee may not post a comment to a blog or social media site that advocates for or against a partisan political party, a candidate for a partisan political office, or partisan political group. I will state that as an officer in the Army National Guard, I did take an oath which states that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And would you know it, that a part of the Constitution, there are the amendments. And the First Amendment provides that Congress make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting its free exercise. It protects freedom of speech, the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And if any service members are watching this, that there is also the Uniform Code of Military Justice, in which states, while the Uniform Code of Military Justice demands obedience to the lawful orders of a superior commissioned officer or governing body, it equally demands disobedience when the order is given illegally. And that orders that violate established laws and regulations or the UCMJ or Uniform Code of Military Justice are not binding. And would you know it? That intentionally directing attacks against the civilian population as such, or against individual civilians not taking part in direct hostilities is a war crime, as well as intentionally directing attacks against civilian objects, that is, objects that are not military objectives, is a war crime. So, I hope that sheds some light on the situation, that I was able to read from you publicly domained materials.
All right. So we touched on that subject, right? Remember your oath. I'm going to play this and then we'll be right into Joe's 5 minutes right here. Let's see, let's play something. Oh, hold on. I think I know what it is. Yeah, hold on. I got it muted right there.
Every day you wake up, the world is already waiting to test you. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't wait until you feel strong. It just starts. Noise, opinions, pressure, deadlines, people showing up late, people letting you down, emotions pulling you in directions you didn't ask for. That's why you don't wake up and wait for peace. You wake up and build it. Before anything else, there are 5 things you need to remind yourself every single day. Not for motivation, not for hype, but to stay grounded in a mindset that doesn't shake every time life does. You need to train your internal voice before the world has a chance to influence it. You need a foundation stronger than emotion. That's what Stoicism teaches. That strength doesn't come from getting what you want. It comes from how you respond when you don't. The first thing to tell yourself is this: no one owes me anything. It sounds cold at first, maybe even harsh, but it's one of the most freeing truths you'll ever accept. You are not owed respect. You are not owed kindness. You are not owed understanding. People don't have to behave the way you hope they will, and that's not a reason to be bitter. It's a reason to be free. Because the moment you stop expecting the world to treat you a certain way, you stop handing your peace over to other people's behavior. You stop walking into situations looking for approval. You stop being surprised when people fall short, because now you understand. They were never obligated to meet your expectations in the first place. So instead of being reactive, you become steady. You're not hurt by everything. You're not confused by inconsistency. You understand the game, and that allows you to move through it with calm control. The second thing is just as important. I don't control others. I only control myself. There's nothing more exhausting than trying to manage other people's emotions, decisions, and opinions. You'll drive yourself insane trying to fix what was never yours to fix. This is where people lose energy fast. They give too much time trying to change someone who doesn't want to change. They argue to be understood when the other person has no interest in listening. They try to prove their worth to people who've already decided not to see it. That's how you burn out. That's how you stay stuck in cycles that go nowhere. But once you accept that your power ends at the edge of your own behavior, everything simplifies. You stop trying to make them act right. You focus on acting right yourself. You stop trying to win someone's respect. You focus on carrying yourself in a way that respects who you are. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. And in that space, you find peace. Next, you remind yourself, emotions are not instructions. You're going to feel things. Some days you'll feel tired for no reason. Some days you'll feel irritated, angry, anxious, uncertain. That's normal. What's not normal, what's destructive, is believing that every emotion requires a reaction. Stoicism doesn't teach you to suppress emotion. It teaches you to manage it, to let it pass through without letting it pull you off course. Epictetus said it clearly. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. That means you can feel anger without becoming it. You can feel sadness without collapsing into it. You can feel the urge to say something and choose not to. That's power. Power isn't yelling louder. It's knowing you could and choosing stillness instead. Most people live at the mercy of their feelings. You don't have to. You don't have to follow every thought. You don't have to respond to every slight. You just have to stay disciplined enough to pause, think, and choose with intention. Then there's this. Not everything deserves your energy. There's a trap in modern life where we start thinking that we have to react to everything, every post, every comment, every opinion that makes us uncomfortable. But real strength comes from discernment. You don't fight every battle. You don't prove every point. You don't attend every argument you're invited to. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And when you give your energy to every petty thing, that's exactly what happens. You imagine insult where none was meant. You imagine disrespect where silence would have brought you peace. Sometimes silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the refusal to waste your emotional currency on people and situations that don't deserve it. It's not your job to correct every misunderstanding. It's your job to protect your focus, your time, your mind. Some people want your reaction more than they want resolution. Don't give it to them. Stay unavailable to chaos. And finally, you tell yourself this: I am responsible for my attitude, not the weather, not the news, not the traffic, not the person who made a rude comment. You. Your response to the day is your choice. Your outlook is your discipline. It's easy to point at circumstances. It's easy to say, I'm just in a bad mood because... But the truth is, attitude is not random. It's not a mood. It's a mindset. And that means it can be trained. You don't have to feel positive all the time. This isn't about toxic optimism. It's about taking responsibility for the tone you bring into every room you walk into. When things go wrong, you stay level. When the day isn't going your way, you stay centered. That's what separates the reactive from the resilient. You don't wait for conditions to be perfect before you bring your best. You show up with discipline. You stay sharp no matter what the world throws at you. These 5 things are not just reminders. They're anchors. And if you build your mindset around them, you become something the world rarely sees. a calm, grounded, focused human being in a time where most people are lost in noise. This is what Stoicism is. Not detachment from life, but engagement with life from a stronger position. It's about presence, not passivity. Strength, not aggression. Focus, not control. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to fight to prove you're strong. You just need to show up every day with a mindset that doesn't move every time the world shakes. So remind yourself of this every morning, quietly, privately, steadily. No one owes you anything. You only control yourself. Your emotions don't speak for you. Your energy is sacred, and your attitude is your choice. Repeat that until it becomes part of you. And when it does, people won't know how to shake you, because you'll be grounded in something most people never build: self-command. That's where your power is, and that's how you protect it every single day.
All right, we're gonna roll right into, was that 5x5 in that video?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right, Joe. Cause. Thank you for your patience here. We'll go ahead and get started.
No problem. Can you hear me okay? I had to switch off my headset.
Yep.
Yes.
I want to say this before you start. That's the best video I have seen in a long time, and it's one of the things that I try to tell everybody. You're responsible for your own actions.
Yes.
Right? Not that one. So everybody look, first thing we want to say is we need a fair use notice, because we're going to start a little bit of refresher for anybody that's new, kind of review a few things. The fair use notice is that this video may contain copyrighted material, the use of which has not been specifically authorized by the copyright owner. We are making such material available for the purpose of criticism, comment, review, and news reporting, which constitute the fair use of any such copyrighted material as provided for in Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Law. Notwithstanding the provisions of Sections 106 and 106A, the fair use of a copyrighted work for purposes such as criticism, comment, review, and news reporting is not an infringement of copyright. We don't condone threats of any kind, violence. If you're upset or outraged by anything that we have to say, that's on you. We are not legal people. We are not financial people. We are educated in what we are trying to share. So one of the first things we want to go into is slide number 2, Mr. Sheepdog, the resources. If you guys have pens and papers, you may want to take some notes. It's on the other slide set.
The other slide set.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
We can start here if you want. I can read this one, but never mind.
Hold on, I got you. Yeah.
There you go. So some of the resources that I have used and that Mr. Joe has shared with me to use, the first one, scribd.com. It's an excellent resource. The first few downloads are free. After that, there's a small fee. I think it's $11.99 a month to obtain, but there's a ton of information in there. I started my journey just last year, September, October, August, somewhere in there. And so there's a lot of information there. The other places you can go to is YouTube. Previously, we have referred people to Joe Lustica on YouTube. He also has a Telegram channel. He's on TikTok and Rumble as well. And Mr. Joe has suggested a gentleman named Thomas Freed, where you see his website is tax-freedom.com. But you need to do your own research. The more research everybody does, the more the words, the terminology, what I call the word salad, starts to gel, and you start seeing how it all connects. Another website that Mr. Joe had suggested is keys to liberty, the number 2, .wordpress.com. This is Joe Lustica's YouTube. I'm sorry, Sheep.
This is it.
Way to go. Yeah, Joe, that's him. That's a picture of him.
Okay.
That first video, that's him. Yep, that's Joe Lustica.
I'll share the channel.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We'll get back to the slide. Let me put this in the.
Hello to everybody in the Rumble chat. You get to put a face to the name and the voice and all that good stuff. I've been a cat in a tree today, up and down. It's okay. You know who you are. Okay, we also have Keys to Liberty. PO Liberty number 2.wordpress.com. There's tons of information from there from what Mr. Joe says. Joe, you said the taxfreedom.com was mostly free, and then the Keys to Liberty, it cost to download once, but you could use it any number of times. Is that what you shared with me?
Well, they're both free to get to. The taxfreedom.com. He's got a lot of documents in there concerning the IRS and taxes, and that's what he does for a living, is operate that website, and he's got a couple of YouTube stations. So he's got some documents, and they're not very expensive, but they're very potent, and you can use them over and over and over. I think I got two of them from him, and I've got mine from other places too, but I think I gave $35 or $45 for one document that's been, and I can use them for other people too. Once you buy them, they're yours. And you can find this information anywhere. You get on Google or whatever research engine you want, and type in what it is you want, and you'll find all kinds of information. And if you'll research a little and find it, there is more information out there than you'll ever imagine.
Yeah, and there's more and more. I believe it's easier to find some of these things because more and more is out there. So the other things that from a long time ago, we've had Meet Your Straw Man. This book is on PDF on the Truth Seekers 88 Telegram. Go under files, you'll have to search for it, or Amazon. And then we also have the UCC code book, UCC connection, excuse me. I have read both of these, so these are also on Audible on our platforms. But look I have highlighted and gone over and put little pegs and folded pages. There is so much information just in these little books as well. Okay. I think we can go on to slide number 3, sir. Some of the terminology that Mike has talked about, we've talked about in the past. I think Sheepdog, you've even mentioned some. There's lawful versus legal. The lawful terminology is the authority that pertains to more natural rights, and the legal pertains to the more equity or civil. When you're traveling, you're falling under the lawful. When you're driving, you're operating a motor vehicle, you're falling under the legal. Living soul is lawful. The all capital dead entity with no voice is a person defined. You want to look up a specific definition for person. Under common law is lawful. Corporate law or commercial is under legal. And automobile the word or terminology of automobile falls under lawful, and under legal it would be called a motor vehicle, hence the motor vehicle codes for most of the states. I'm going quickly so that we can get to the question and answer stuff as soon as possible. Anybody's missing anything, just rewind and come back and watch it later. Slide number 4. More information on lawful versus legal. And for legal, we remain confused because of the technical jargon used by attorneys and are often misled by the facts pertaining to law. However, the blame lies on us as we allow us to be misled. Legal is a word that pertains to the science of law, its administration, understanding, and even its practice. This is why everything associated with this profession is termed as legal. And even the advice given by attorneys to their clients is termed legal advice. When we hear the word legal, we visualize the word law, the courts, the lawyers, the judges, and all the paraphernalia that constitutes the legal system. It is thus clear that anything that pertains to or is based upon law is referred to as legal. This is where they catch us also. Under lawful, when an event, thing, structure, organization, agreement, etc. are in accordance with the law or are permitted and sanctioned by the law of the land, they are said to be lawful. Anything that conforms to or is recognized by law is automatically lawful. Anything lawful is considered to be not forbidden by law. One can consider anything that is valid as lawful. So let us dissect this information for a moment. We know that that marriage is lawful, and we know that government cannot give permission, a license or permit to do anything unlawful. So, i.e., you cannot get a license or permission from the government to break into cars because that's unlawful. Thus, we must now realize that anything we can do illegally with a license, we can do lawfully without one. Next slide, sir. Everything you can do legally with a permit or license, you can do lawfully without the permit or license. We have asked for permission most of our lives. We've been trained that way. Who normally asks for permission? Children, incompetent, those unable to handle their own affairs. Ask yourselves, who established the government? Who has authority over government? We do. We just do not take the time to recognize we hold the authority. So we have been taught and indoctrinated that government holds the authority over us. This is why we ask for permission to engage in lawful acts. This is where a lot of our fear comes from. You can feed your family a natural lawful act without a permit, business license. Why? Because it is one of your basic human inalienable rights, the right to work and enjoy the fruits of your labor. There are 3 basic laws we could or should be accountable for: injury to another, injury to property, mischief or fraud in our contracts and verbal or otherwise. All other statutes and codes do not apply to us. Statutes are for those in commerce. All government and government departments are corporations. Pardon me. Federal, municipal, state of Missouri, state of Ohio, city of Los Angeles, city of Detroit, the county of whichever county it is, those are all corporations, all income generating corporations. Corporations exist in name only, on paper. You can find listings of these in Dun & Bradstreet, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC website as well. I have done that for my state, my bank, my credit union, a few other things, and absolutely, they're all incorporated. The status quo is based upon our choices and our ignorance. As they say, ignorance is no excuse in the eyes of the law. Taking the time to be informed and not be silent is the only way to change the status quo. Number 6.
You can also add the Clearfield Doctrine to this.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Sheepdog.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys are such great researchers. I have teas that I can't keep up, and now I got Joe telling me he can't believe how much you guys do. So that's amazing. You guys are you bring so much stuff. Thank you.
We just listen to our elders. There's people that's been doing it 50, 60 years.
Right.
In this battle. That's who I listen to. I mean, if I'm going to follow anybody, it's going to be somebody that's been doing it for 60, 50, 60 years.
Right. When I started looking into this, I couldn't believe some of the paperwork I found from 2008. I thought, holy cow, this has been going on that long, and I just woke up. It's time, guys. So in the book, Unrebutted Affidavits Stand as Truth by David Robinson, on page 43, it reads, I quote, "First, you have to understand that the United States is a corporation that existed before the Revolutionary War." There's case law cited there. The United States is not a landmass, it is a corporation. On page 55, he says, many who read HJR 192, the House Joint Resolution 192, which we'll cover some here, fail to comprehend its extraordinary significance. Its 6 paragraphs have done more to change the legal and financial landscape than perhaps any 6 paragraphs written prior to or since June 5, 1933. It represents no less than the wholesale confiscation of the wealth of the people of America, the biggest theft in history. All property and labor was pledged to the international banking cartel in perpetuity, or forever. Note that the word bankruptcy is never mentioned in this resolution, and that the Federal Reserve notes are mere promises to pay equivalent in value to paper monopoly money, and that you don't have actual title to your vehicles and your homes. You only get to use them if you pay your use fees in the form of registrations, licenses, and property tax. On page 85, he states the legal all caps name is always the person charged with the crime. The government's intent is to get you, the adult man or woman, attached to or identified with that accessory name. And you and your children have to use that legal name in all commerce under private necessity. Number 7. In the Meet Your Straw Man book, I read this. It's on audio and PDF. I mentioned that, page 13. A loan agreement is a contract, and so there has to be full disclosure of all the details, which there wasn't. Both sides have to put up something of equal worth, which didn't happen, and the contract has to be signed in wet ink by both parties, which the bank can't do. So the bank has a real problem. Point out politely that it does not constitute a contract as it is only signed by one of the parties, us, and ask for a copy of the contract signed by both parties. Note, there's the name of James was used in the book, and I'm quoting it. So here it is. James is used in the book. On page 14, the bank will either remain silent or write back to say that the debt is fully discharged. If the bank tries phoning, then just tell them politely that you only wish to deal with this matter in writing and hang up. If the bank remains silent for the stated period of time, then James should write back stating that due to the bank's failure to provide the necessary evidence of a lawful debt within the reasonable period of time provided, that James now considers that the debt is fully discharged and asks the bank to confirm that in writing. The bank will normally write back confirming that the debt is fully discharged and that there is nothing owing, and if it does not do that, it will just stop asking for any further payments. Page 23. Such a contract is void ab initio, or void from the beginning, which means that the contract never took place in the first place. Moreover, the good faith and fair dealing requirement through full disclosure is non-existent, which further voids the contract. Magic Bank failed to disclose to the buyer that it will not be giving the buyer any valuable consideration and taking interest back as additional benefit to unjustly enrich the corporation. Magic Bank also failed to disclose how much profit they are going to make on the deal. Magic Bank led the buyer to believe that the money going to the seller would be coming from its own asset account. They lied because they knew or ought to have known that their own book or ledger would show that Magic Bank does not have any money to lend, and that their records will show that no such loan transaction ever took place. One last reading and we'll get into it. The UCC connection with the people on page 4. It is so important to know and understand the meaning of without prejudice, UCC 1-308, in connection with your signature. So learn and understand this carefully. Take a screenshot even if you can. Memorize this. The use of without prejudice, UCC 1-308, in connection with my signature indicates that I have reserved my common law right not to be compelled to perform under any contract I did not enter into knowingly, voluntarily, and intentionally, and I do not accept the liability associated with the compelled benefit of any unrevealed contract or commercial agreement. Under common law, both parties must enter into a contract knowingly, voluntarily, and intentionally, or it can be declared unenforceable and void. You are claiming the right not to be compelled to perform under any contract that you did not enter into knowingly, voluntarily, and intentionally, and you do not accept the liability associated with the compelled benefit of any unrevealed contract or agreement. Under the laws of commerce, truth is sovereign. Commercial law is a war of truth, expressed in the form of an intellectual weapon called an affidavit. An affidavit is simply a written list of facts, of truths, signed under the penalty of perjury, and usually notarized. The person making and signing an affidavit is called the affiant. It is survival of the fittest, where the last unrebutted affidavit stands triumphant as the truth. Now, question and answer, Mr. Joe. You ready, sir?
Okay, well,
we're going to go into that one, I think, in a little bit, Sheep.
But first of all, before you start with the questions, I want to tell everybody out there that that has contacted me for help. I want to tell you how much I appreciate it, how much it means to me, and what encouragement that it gives to me. And I will do everything I can to help everybody. And I don't charge for my help. If I ever get to the point I got to charge for helping somebody, I'll quit. So I'm ready.
Chief, you can go to our faces if you want to. We'll come back to that coupon one, that last one, in just a bit. Thank you, sir. Okay, so, Joe, when you and I were first introduced, you talked about doing this for a very long time. Can you talk about how long you've been, or when you were first introduced to all the wrongdoings going on?
Well, yeah, I knew for a long time that there was something wrong with the taxes and all of this, you know, and I've studied the Bible. I can't quote the verses like I used to, but in the Bible it says no man can rule over another one. And a couple of friends of mine helped me get started with income taxes in 1985. Just pointed them in the right direction, and they both moved away. And from that time on, I've been more or less on my own. And I've done my research, bought books, and I've studied, and I've fought. And don't get me wrong, I've been in the same position that everybody out here has been in. I was scared to death when I first started. I knew that the IRS is going to take me and everything, my family and everything, you know. But after a couple of years of finding out that I keep fighting back, that I had more authority than they do.
Right.
And really, the IRS has no legal authority to operate within the 50 states. And the only way they can operate is when you file your tax form, you're telling them you owe them the money. And when you sign that tax form and send it back in, then it becomes a gift tax. And you have no say so what they do with the money. They can put it in their pocket, throw it out the window, whatever they want to. You have no say so what they do with it. So, you know, and it's all fraud to start with. So,
right. And we just read that when you sign a contract, they don't disclose everything effectively, and you're not getting the I forget the terminology, but you're not getting the value that you think you are out of it. They're not presenting anything. They're just taking you for fraud. So I know you've told me that you don't do anything you've done for yourself, what you're sharing with others to do. And based upon what you found out works best is what you're working to share with everybody, what you've shared with me and what you work to communicate with others. And that being said, is this easy, or would you say there's a little more to it?
well, you ever fight a bull? There's nothing easy about it. It's nothing easy about it. But what you have to learn to do is be persistent. You have to stand up for yourself, and you have to lose your fear. And the whole thing, there's nothing in this that's guaranteed. There's no way that I can guarantee you that it'll work. All I'm putting out there is what I have done, what I have researched, and everything I put out there has been tested and tried. I do not put something out that I have not already tried. And I've had success with most of it. It took me 30 years to get rid of the IRS completely. But every time they would send me a notice, I'd send them back a letter, say, prove it, or, you know, and their own law states that they have to, when they ask for money, they have to sign it under penalty of perjury, or it's void. That's their own law. So whenever they send you something, you don't need a special letter to send back to them. You can write one yourself. Say, send me the bill, send me the certified assessment by a certified IRS agent, and sign it under penalty of perjury. You will never get one of them. You will never. I've asked hundreds of times and never have I ever got one. And I've turned lawyers away, some of the most expensive lawyers. They write me and say, well, the IRS says you owe this and we're going to do this. And if you don't do this, so I send them back and I say, well, send me the wedding copy of the contract I signed with you, and I'll talk to you. And they disappear. So
Right.
you got to learn to stand up. After a while, you'll lose your fear.
Yes. It can creep back up if you're not familiar with what to expect. But yes, it can. So when we refer to the coupon method, we're talking about paying our bills, right? This is an example of a bill. And down at the very bottom, most people don't understand. I've had questions about, what do you mean by coupon? The very bottom of your billing statement is that little coupon that we all rip off to send back with our payment. That's what we are referring to as the coupon. And that's the portion that we're talking about. And we'll clarify some things here tonight also. I heard you say that you should always, we should always respond and or acknowledge mailings we receive from the corporation companies, right? Sorry, I keep putting my paper in front of the camera.
Yeah, you need to respond to everything. I'll give you an example. I could send either one of you a notice in the mail that you owe me $100 and make up anything. You throw that in the trash. 30 days from this date, I could take you to court because I sent you a bill for $100 and you accepted it by silence. You agreed to it by silence. So I could probably make you pay me that $100. And that's how we've got in the shape we're in now. As a matter of fact, when the government does anything at all, when they say they're going to pass this kind of law or that kind of law or whatever, they put it on the news, in the newspapers, everywhere for about a year. And then they pass a bill about this gun law. And we sat around and complained because that they taken our rights. We didn't do anything about it. When they put it out there, if we rebut it, they can't not do it. So we gave them permission to do it. So, but that's what we're trying to get out of now, as learning, and it's took a long time to learn this, but it's all common sense.
Okay, what if there's no coupon on, I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a bill come with no coupon. So if anything is electronic, we want to get out of electronic. We want the statements to be mailed to our homes. Is that correct?
Right. You want to have it mailed to you by U.S. mail. And I have, when they send me an email with a statement, I have copied the email and used that as a coupon and sent it back. But it's always better. It's always better if you use the mail, whatever. And never talk to them on the phone. If they call you on the phone, you tell them I do business over the phone. If you want to contact me by U.S. mail in writing, and hang the phone up.
Right, because ultimately they're committing mail fraud when they start sending you fraudulent things and trying to come after you, right?
Right.
We could threaten them with a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, and is it important to think, like on the bottom of that statement, what if there's no numbers as far as an account? We're still doing what we do with our strawman account, and that should be enough. Is that correct?
Well, whether there's numbers on the bottom or not, it's a request for money. Okay? It's a request for payment. If you study HJR 192.
We've got that. No, you don't know that. We've got that. I'm going to read that at the end.
Yeah, but, they ask for payment. Well, we have no money to pay it with.
Right.
So if they ask for something in substance, you cannot pay it. So it has to be discharged. And what discharge means is that it's a promise to pay at a later date. And there's no time limit or anything on it. It'll be 100 years from now. But a discharge is the same thing what a Federal Reserve note does. It's a promise to pay at a later date.
And is that like, so I've got somebody, I see it in the Rumble chat, and somebody needs to address Gemini 2122 and Rumble, please. Very negative comments there about stuff. Anyway, like if they get propane and they just get a bill from the propane company, which would be almost like a statement, you know, with the amount, the value that would be owed. There's not necessarily something billed to your home. It's just probably how many gallons you got and what the cost is, and they expect you to pay that. Is that going to be a little different than the bigger corporation companies if it's a local gas company that you're dealing with from a propane perspective, or is it all the same?
It's all the same. Anytime you receive a bill. Now, taxes, property taxes and income taxes, there's a little different. It's the same process, but it's different documents you use for it. But anytime that you receive a statement with the amount owed and they request payment, you use this coupon process. Now, there's 2 or 3 different ways to sign it, but the one we're going to show you here in a little bit is so far has proven to be the most effective. And the others work. I worked with the others for years and years, and but you got to be persistent. There's no guarantee with any of this that's going to work, and a lot of it has to do with your attitude. You have that last video that Sheepdog played a while ago covers the whole thing. It just, you have to. I mean, if you sat there and say, "Well, I don't think this is going to work," what if this and what if that? It probably will not.
Right.
But even if you do it right, you're still going to get pushback, but you got to be persistent.
Yes, agree with that. The whole thing is a process. And this whole thing, I think everything we're experiencing right now is a process. And much of what Mike has talked about and Sheepdogs have brought to us about learning about ourselves, the Bible, the allegories, the walk that we're going through, you have to learn more about yourself. You have to know where you are and declare your sovereignty and declare your freedom and declare who you are in this, and that nobody has authority over you. And this is what they try to bully you with, constantly sending you notices, which is technically harassment, intimidation, threats, to try to get you to finally make payment. And I've experienced it. I Mr. Joe and Mike can tell you, I would call them and say, "Get me out of the tree. Please help me. I'm hyped. I'm worried about it." And they would talk me through all the things. And as I read more and learned more, and as it all became the same language and it started to make sense, I stood up more strongly. And I, instead of being the polite little typer with a letter saying, "Oh, please show me where you have," I declared that they needed to do this for me. Otherwise, there was nothing that we had to talk about. And guess what? They finally went away. So,
Well, and they also send the statement to your straw man and expecting you to pay it. So that's
capital name. And they're starting to get a little sneaky, though. They're starting to send the all cap or the upper lowercase to you with certain correspondences. Again, if you receive it in the upper lowercase and you open it instead of sending it back, you want to respond to it. You don't want to just sit. Otherwise, your silence is acquiescence to the situation. Yes?
yes. And if you get, after a while, if you keep getting letters from them, I've got coupons that we can use that put over your address. It says no contract, and I don't have a. Yes, you're going to show you a picture of it, and you put that over your.
This one.
Yeah, you put that over your inbound address, but leave the return address on there, and put that over there and put it right back in the mailbox. Don't open it. Put it right back in the mailbox. Let it go. But that is a response. You need to respond to everything, and you need to respond back. Now, there's some people say you need to send it to the CEO of the company, but I believe, and it's been my experience, what I do is send it right back to whoever sent it to me. the same address. If they send me a statement, yeah, go ahead.
So for clarification, on the initial statement, on the back, usually there's a specialty payment address. And when we include a letter or something like that, I've heard that you should send it to the specialty payment address with the letter, not the envelope that you receive this in, your own envelope. And then you want to send it certified mail, et cetera, to the specialty address. But then if you get a communication from somebody, the name with a different address, that's who you're going to be responding with and corresponding with at that point.
Yeah, and if they send you a letter, most of the time it'll be a computer generated letter. But if it's not, and somebody has signed it, remember, the person that signed the letter, whatever place in the totem pole they are, ever who signed that letter is responsible for that letter. You're responsible for your own actions. So if it gets nitty gritty enough, you can sue that person on a personal level.
Right. A whole nother step. Tasha, those coupons, anybody that wants to know, or that's in the Truth Seekers Telegram, they're on PDF. I'm sure one of us, when we're done, if Mrs. Sheepdog doesn't do it in the meantime, we can pull that and bring it down. It's in PDF up in the Truth Seekers Telegram channel to print off. Anybody that wants to have them printed off. So with regard to the coupon method, Mr. Joe, we use this for just about any statement that we get, with the exception of probably property taxes.
Well, property taxes, you use the same statement on the statement they send you. Usually when you get your property tax, it'll have two different coupons, one for the first half of the year and one for the second half. And you use the same. You can use the same statement on that coupon, but there's a different document you send back with it.
Okay. So you would do the same language, same things we write out, which we
you could do. There's 2 or 3 different ways to sign it.
Okay.
You can either sign it for cause, or you can sign it the other way. Either way.
And we'll show that here in just a few minutes. So it's been suggested on our chat wall, and you just briefly touched on it, that we should send something that maybe our first letter should be the CFO or the CEO. That's not necessarily what you think you should do the first time. Just send it back to the address.
What I would do, what I do is, it's okay to send it back to the CEO, but if you send a copy of it back to where the letter came from, then they understand what it is you're talking about. If you don't send it back to them and you just send one to the CEO, he has no idea what you're talking about. It's like, for instance, the example would be like the IRS. IRS has got an office in every city in the nation, I think. But if you get a statement from Portland, Oregon, and you respond to it by sending it back to Kansas City, they have no idea what you're talking about. They have and they don't talk to one another. So you're just going around in a circle and not getting anything done. So you have to respond back to the same place that it came from, to the same person. Especially if it's a debt collector, you send it right back to them with the attention to whoever who sends it to.
Okay, and I learned from you that when you put your address on a letter, a return address, or you're putting your address on the outside of the envelope, that you should use C/O for care of, and not abbreviate the street name or avenue. You want the full spelling on your street. You want to include your state, mostly the full spelling, and put your zip code in kill brackets. Why?
Well, it's because you're in private, and putting your address in care of, that's not your permanent address. Remember, heaven is your permanent home. Okay? And to put your zip code in kill brackets, or either use it non-domestic, the zip code is a tax area. you're under the tax code when you use your zip code. So yeah, you want to get away from that. And in private, you use your full name. You have your first and middle name, or is not, it's your given names, and then you have your family name. Now, somebody asked, and I don't remember where I saw it, about if you're married, a woman's married, and her name is changed to her husband's name, that is now your family name.
Okay.
Because you are joined together. You are joined together. And that is your family name now. And your offspring that will be their family name until they change it, So, and care of, that's just your temporary address. And you always in your private, you sign everything is written out complete. You can either print it or write it, either one. You can autograph it, you can print it. It's just illegal, or lawful is writing it out, but you need to spell it complete. You don't use abbreviations. That is legalese stuff. So we're trying to get back into private. And on your documents, when you sign it on the bottom right. And you sign it in red or blue. And you can use your right thumbprint, red thumbprint. It goes right on the end of your name. That is your seal. That's the same thing as a notary seal, but that is your seal. That nobody else has your thumbprint. So.
And you say that should be touching part of your autograph?
Yeah, it should go over the last couple of letters of your name.
Okay. So the corporations seem really nice, and they're sending letters back, but they're not signed. They just have a name on them. We're assuming that those are probably auto-generated, AI-generated, but we still want to respond to that name and continue to respond until we hear something else.
Yeah, if it's got an address on there to send it back to, I would just put it back in the envelope and send it back to them, and don't sign it. Just if you've already sent them an affidavit or something, you right across the bottom of it, refer to the certified mail number. The document certified, and just put it back in there. Don't sign it, because that's all they want, your signature.
Okay. So when we send the coupon back, we just get the little coupon, we take this off the bottom, we fill it out like we're going to be showing people. Do we want to send this back with a cover letter to that address, or do we just want to send the coupon back and let it fly?
Well, there's documents to send back. Yeah, you can send back a cover letter. You can make one up on your own, or I've got several of them that you can send. You can, and you are one of the best at writing cover letters that anybody I've seen. But
our audience will find out that I have done a template for them. Hopefully it can be transferred into, they can use it, but that's to come.
Yeah, but I lost my train of thought.
Cover letter, something to send back.
Yeah, but there's always, when you the coupon, there's always a document to send back. It's either an affidavit of truth, it's either a proof of claim or something like that. So they're supposed to answer every affidavit item for item, but they're so corrupt. They're not doing that. That's the reason we got to be persistent and keep sending it right back to them.
Sheepdog, I've got somebody texting me breaking news. Looks like Israel has attacked Iran. I don't know if you want to look into that while we're talking. Or that's the narrative anyway. So, okay. And then coupon, cover letter, why or why not? We got that covered. I've heard there's different ways you send the coupon back. You covered that one. You covered the particular color ink and the thumbprint, why that's important. And then you talked about the name. So is the first to middle name, you always want to use your full name? Or do you use the name that they send the stuff in? Because I've always used the name that they're sending it in.
Well, you send it back, and always sign your full name. I always do.
Okay.
And also, when your signature, make sure you put by in front of it, because that means that you are the authorized representative of your straw man.
And when you're signing, do you do the dash between the first and the middle name and then the colon?
You can do either way. You can do either way. I've done it both ways.
What does either way mean? I'm not sure.
Well, you can sign it without the dashes and the colon.
Okay.
You just like your regular sign it.
Okay.
But make sure you spell your name all the way out. No abbreviations.
Okay.
And but there's a lot of them out there say that you should put the dash and the colon in there, and what that means, your first two is your given name, and the colon with the name, that is your family name. So that's the reason for that to be put in there, is to emphasize that. But I don't know. I have, with all that I've done through all the years, I have not seen any difference. Not any response has been the same on all of it. So I'm not, I can't.
I'm sorry.
I can't verify that either one of them is better than the other one.
Right. I know that you've reiterated several times, document. When we're returning the first coupon, we decide, finally, somebody decides, I'm going to do this with one of my bills, my credit cards. I'm going to send this back for the first time. Should they just do it with the cover letter and mail it back, not paying attention? Should they do it certified mail, return receipt, so they know that they get it? Should there be something else to it that you would suggest?
I would send the first one back certified mail. I need to wet my throat a little. This Canada smoke is getting to me. But I would send the first one back certified mail. And your first response to it that you get back, I would open it up to read it, see what it is. And if it's not satisfactory, just do the same thing all over again, but just send it back U.S. mail. And you get other letters from them. I wouldn't open them. I would just send them back, return to sender, just like that coupon I gave you.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I had that happen. My wife had a Lowe's card, and of course they go through Synchrony Bank, which is one of the most corrupt in the world. But anyway, the first time that I sent the coupon in for that, they discharged it right away. I mean, they sent me back, everything is paid, and it was something like $2,000 or $3,000. I just bought a utility shed to put up, and so okay, that was great. So about 2 months later, Synchrony Bank started, we don't want that. We want to get all we can. So they started sending me back letters. And I did them the same way the first time. And then the second time, they said, sent it back with the coupon, return to sender. I did that about twice. And then they started having Lowe's send the bill. I did that to them about twice, and that's been 2 or 3 months ago, and I haven't heard from them since.
The cover letter that I've got prepped and ready that hopefully everybody can transfer and do, it covers pretty much the notice of good faith discovery, the verification of proof of claim, and then to be included in that letter with the coupon would be the affidavit that all debts are prepaid that people sign. So that should cover everything that that company or corporation needs to do. And if they don't respond to that within the 21 days I think I've given them, then they're done. They have no claim, correct?
It's supposed to be discharged after that.
Okay. And does that mean they're just going to stop? They're going to say,
No,
okay,
they don't stop. I have never had them stop, except if you are persistent enough and ignore them. You can't ignore them, but you respond to them and say, just go to the devil or kiss my butt or anything you do, send back to them. You got to respond, but it don't say how you have to respond. So, that's why you put these coupons on there. It just
Right.
send it back.
when we're filling out the coupon in the way that we're going to be showing you, does it matter what color ink we use on that? Should we use black or should we stick to the blue? And
Well, what I use when I sign it is use blue ink and then a red thumbprint. But you can sign it in blue or red, either one. And what you write across a coupon, you can use all red or you can use blue. But it's either red or blue. Do not use black because that's legalese stuff.
right. And if I can't put my thumbprint on it, is that a big deal? If I haven't put my thumbprint on it, some people are going to say, "Oh, I didn't do that the last time."
No, it's actually it reaffirms who you are.
Okay.
It's just like a notary seal. That's your seal only.
Really.
But and then underneath your name, you should put authorized representative, or print your name, type your name in there, and put
Attorney in fact.
attorney in fact. Yeah, because you are your own attorney.
Because we are private lawful, not legal.
Right.
Attorneys
Right.
Are, so we have the authority to be that.
Right.
Is it necessary to put, thumbprint, I asked you. Okay, lower right hand of the page is very important to fill out. When you write your name or anything, you want the lower right hand because that says you're the individual.
You're in private. Okay. Oh, you're muted. I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
Cause can you hear us? Yeah.
Muted.
Okay.
But, while she's getting back, that people out there just understand, just think common sense. This whole thing is common sense. And if you'll study the Bible, everything we've talked about is in the Bible. It tells us we're not supposed to be debtors. We're not supposed to be borrowers, but lenders only. It tells you that. And we have dominion over this earth, and no one person can rule over another. Yeah, that's better. You okay? Now she left again. So there's no guarantee. The only guarantee that I know of in this world is death and judgment. There's, because this will work for some people. It'll work for some corporations. It'll work for others. It will not work for others. And everything is trial and error. You put out something, and if that don't work, try a different thing. And you can write your own letters. You can write your own affidavits. And once you learn how they operate, and if you do a little research, now I've put out several different websites over the time, and that's where I've got a lot of my information. And I bought a couple of books, and I put them out there. But you got to do your own research. And I would like to say this too. That this will be coming up in a question here in a while. But every time that somebody gets in touch with me wanting information, I will find out what it is that they're doing, and I will send them the documents and everything, and then I'll call them and explain the whole thing to them and how they should be done, or how I would do it. I can't give legal advice, but I give my opinion, my tested way of doing it, and that I've had success with, and others have. But when they get a response back, when you call me and tell me you have a response to this letter, I need to know who you are. I need to know what document you sent. So it's a good idea, before you call me back with that, when you get that response, get all your documentation together right in front of you. So when you call me and you want to know what's happening, then you got everything there in front of you to tell me what documents you sent in. Because if you send me a text and say I got a response back for so and so, and I sent them a document you sent me, but you don't tell me your name, and I got to look up your phone number in my logbook to find out who you are. And then I got to call you to find out what document you're talking about. And you say, well, the document you sent me. Okay, that's fine. It probably is. But when you get anywhere from 85 to 150 people that you send documents to, and each one of them gets at least 3 documents, what document did I send you? And it's, if you don't have, we're both confused, because I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know what you sent, and I don't know how to help you. So it's very important that you, because, I'm just one person, and it's hard for me to remember everybody or what document I sent, whether it's property taxes, a mortgage, or credit card. And if you don't tell me what document it is you sent or what you're working with, I have no idea how to help you.
Well, that goes to Mr. Joe, what you said about there's different ways to approach things. So you need to know what you sent and what the process or what the steps were you initiated, right?
Right.
And that only makes sense. We can hold your hand. We can try to show you, but you guys are responsible for your own business. You are responsible for what you send out, what you receive, how you respond, how long you sit on it. We have 72 hours to respond in honor, to stay in honor. They have 72 hours to respond also. They will not stay in honor, which is why you want to stay in honor. And so everything that you can feed us after we've helped you, especially Mr. Joe, he's handling a lot of people, is very beneficial from a time perspective. Less time on the phone, less energy put out, less frustration, more willingness to help. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, what it is, I want to answer every call. I would do my best to. But if you don't give me the information so I can help you, you're taking time away from somebody else too, and you're taking time away from me, away from my family too, which that's all right too. But I signed up for this and I knew what I was getting into when I did it. But I can't help you if you don't tell me what you need help with. I just put it like that.
One last question before we go to the example of the coupon that I have, unless you can think of something else, Mr. Joe. Is a discharge versus no more response from the company the same thing? Do we worry about it if we don't hear any more from the company and they've just stopped getting a hold of
No.
us?
Once you send them anything, whether it's a response or the first time, until you hear from them, just forget about them. Just do nothing. Wait for them to respond. If they don't respond, then good. But when they do respond, you have to respond to their response in some kind of way. I always, the first letter I get back from a new debt or whatever it is, I always open it to see what they have to say, whether it's a computer generated letter or whether it is actually acknowledging what I've sent them or what. But most of the time, it's just another thing. You owe this money, so so I'll just send it back to them.
And then when you do send it back to them and you cover that with a coupon letter, what I do, I think on your suggestion, is I photocopy the envelope as I've received it from them. And then I place the coupon on it with tape. And then I photocopy that and I put the two together, or I try to photocopy them together on the same page. And then I document on the page that doesn't have my coupon on it, I received this letter on this day and I put it back in the mail on that day.
That's
within
good.
72 hours. And put it right back in the mail and it gets returned by the USPS.
Yeah.
Sheet number 9, please. Go ahead, Joe.
But yeah, it's a good idea if you receive a letter from them. You want to make copies of everything that you do for your own records and keep it separate. If you got 2 or 3 credit cards, keep each file separate from the other, so you'll know when you get a response, you'll know what it is and what you're working with, because it gets very confusing. And if you don't keep a record of everything, you need to read everything. Every document that I send you, or whoever sends it to you for information, read it until you understand it, because if you don't read it, you don't know what you're doing. Just
okay. I'm sorry.
That's it.
Apologies for not being able to be heard. My iPad tends to flip out, which apparently it did. So I'm on my cell phone now. And I couldn't get back in. I could hear you talking, but I could not get back in. So, Sheepdog, can you pull up number 9, the what to put on your pay coupon? The very last one in the first set.
Yep.
Pretty please. So this is what you're suggesting has worked the best for you, Mr. Joe, to put on the coupon, which is this bottom part. You want to be able to write it somewhere across the front of the small coupon that you're sending back, or do you send back the whole page and write it all the way across the page?
I always send back the whole page, but it's not necessary. The coupon is all it needs to go back, but I send the whole page back so that there's no question of what it is they're doing, because that top part of the page already explains what it's all about. So I send it back, make a copy of it, and
so this is. Go ahead.
This, the top part of what I put on the front of the coupon, this is just like writing a check. As a matter of fact, that pay coupon is a check. They send it to you to endorse it, send back so they can cash it. That's exactly what it is. But they want to be greedy and get you paid for it again. So
on the front with blue ink.
Yep.
You're going to write by and then sign your name. Yes.
Yep.
And then the date that you're signing it, and then your exemption ID,
Okay,
Number.
the exemption ID, most of us have got a number on the back of your Social Security card that starts with that letter and then numbers. That's your exemption number 2. You can use that, or you can use your Social Security number without the dashes. That's your exemption number. And your exemption number is always associated with you, not your straw man.
Right.
That is your exemption number that exempts you from the debt. Okay?
Which is why you then write deposit to the U.S. Treasury and charge to charge the same to your birth certificate, all capital name, because it's you.
But
Yes.
because your all capital name is your straw man, and that's who pays the debt.
And then you follow that with the Social Security number with dashes.
Yeah, that is your straw man's account number.
Okay.
Is your Social Security number with the dashes. Without the dashes, that's your exemption number.
So then if we're filling out a check to pay our coupon or pay our bill, why are we then filling out the back that says accepted for value, exempt from levy, and then signing again?
Well, that's it. That's the endorsement of the check.
Okay.
See, the first part is you're making out the check. It's
To my
just
strong.
like you do making out a check. If you make out a check for cash, you probably endorse the back of it, right?
Okay. Yep.
And that's what this is. You're making out the check in the first part.
Out of my strawman account, so I'm signing the back of it because it's my strawman account.
Yeah, you're signing the back with your regular name, not your straw man, but you are the authorized representative, and you're endorsing the check for your straw man to have the money to pay the debt or discharge the debt.
Okay. I'm seeing that people can't hear me. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you okay.
I can hear you just fine. Maybe people can't hear me. Okay, so then the other part of this is some of the questions. So you also, Mr. Joe, this last week, you said you heard from somebody and got some really good news. Do you remember what you told me?
Well, I got a text. Excuse me. I got a text that a mortgage had been taken care of. Had been discharged, but I have not heard anything since, so I cannot really confirm that.
Oh, okay.
But it really excited me that it happened, but I have not heard any more yet, so I don't know for sure. I hope it happened. I cannot confirm it. But
Okay,
I'm sure that somebody out there is having success with this, because I don't hear from people very often.
right. We've become pretty familiar because I have several different things I've worked through, and I appreciate you very much. Property taxes is one of the next questions, or if you want to handle any questions on the wall, people are asking about how to contact you, and we're going to go ahead and kind of screen some things before we send things to Mr. Joe. We'll be sharing his email, but not out in the public forum right now for all the obvious reasons. So if you really want to talk to Mr. Joe, you need to get a hold of one of us, Mr. or Mrs. Sheepdog, or myself. Mike is currently unavailable for any calls or any information at this point until we hear further. Is that how you want? That's the best way to do that, right?
Yeah, and I would request that if you send me an email, please put your phone number on there, because if you send me an email, I will call you. And I call everybody that contacts me if I have their number. And if you send me a text, And if you call me, best thing to do, if you get my phone number, send me a text before you call. That way I will call you back when I'm available, because I may be on the phone with somebody else, and it interrupts that. And like I said, I'm only one person, and I will answer every call. I will call everybody. I might not be able to do it at the time that that you want me to, but I will call you the first chance I get. And if I send you documents, everybody I think will testify to this. I send you documents for your cause. Whatever. As soon as I get them to you, I call and try to explain them.
Right.
I do that for everybody. And when I first started, I used to try to call people, within a week or so down the line to see how they were doing. But it's got so many people now that I can't call everybody back. But
right. And you talked about people should read everything, and I agree with that. I have sent people, I don't check my email hardly at all. And I have sent people emails, sent this stuff via email, and tell them, do not respond to my email. And then I go in 10 days later or so and find that they've responded to me and need something more urgently. And I can't help them 10 days later. They needed to get through with whatever within the 72-hour window. So if you're one of them, that's partly why I probably never responded. And property taxes are going to be very similar. We'll fill the coupon out the same, but there's going to be different cover letters for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a different, excuse me, there's a different, I got two different documents to send, but this one requires that it don't require it, but it requests that you send a copy of your birth certificate with it when you send it in. And it's self-explanatory. So when I send you the document, if you read it over, it'll tell you what it is. And just like almost every document I sent, it's self-explanatory. Most all of them. If you read it over, you'll understand what it is. And if you don't understand the wording in it, you can always call me. But if you do not read what you've got, you do not know what you're sending, and you do not know what to expect in return. So that's why if you don't read it and you get a response back, you don't know what it's for. And I sure don't know what it's for, because I don't know what you sent and I don't know what you got back. So, and in the same way, there's several other people that's helping with this too, and they need the same consideration. Whenever who's helping you, you need to be in the open completely, so that they know what it is that you're having problem with. Because I get texts all the time. I get this back, and I sent them a document and sent me, but and I'll call them. Oh, what are the documents sent me? Okay, but what document did I send you?
I'm sorry, Joe. See if you can clear that one and put the HJR 192 up if you've got it handy. We're going to show the HJR 192, and I have some letter templates prepped. They're not quite ready, I don't think. I'd like to make sure they're covered and approved, but we've got an affidavit of truth ready to go that people should be able to edit. The affidavit that all debts are paid in full. The conditional acceptance letter that people could send with their coupon, or after, if the coupon's not accepted, or there's a debt collection agency that starts coming at you because that's a whole other entity you'd ever contracted with. The conditional acceptance letter. And then there's a coupon cover letter and a couple of things for property tax stuff. But the HJR 192 is the meat and potatoes of everything that we've got. The UCC codes are absolutely part of it because they apply to commerce, which is corporate, which is all the companies sending us the coupons. Yes?
Yes. And remember, all debts are public. And we're trying to get back into private. All debts are public. So HJR 192 is public policy. So debts have to be discharged according to public policy. So it's just common sense.
And it reads, the promissory note to pay our debts, HJR 192 of June 5, 1933, is the promissory note, the promise of Abraham, the government issued to balance the exchange to credit the people. The promissory note is on the debit side of the United States government's ledger, which was a debit from their credit created by the executive order of April 5, 1933, when they took the gold out of circulation. Public policy is rooted in HJR 192 and is grace that creates our exemption. This is your temporal saving grace. Under grace, the law falls away to create a more perfect contract. Public policy removed the people's liability to make all payments by making a contract null if it required the payment to be in substance because the people didn't have any money to pay with. All that must be done now is to discharge the liability. Pay and discharge are similar words, but the principles are as different as Old and New Testaments. The word pay is equated with gold and silver or something of substance like a firstborn lamb, which requires tangible work to be invested in it to remove the liability because an execution must occur. The word discharge is equated with paper or even more basic, simple credits and debits that exist on paper only, like the slate held by the agents angels of heaven that gets swiped clean. You cannot pay a bill with a bill, and you cannot pay a debt with a debt. What HJR 192 did was remove the liability of an obligor or someone obligated to pay a debt by making it against public policy to pay debts. All that needs to be done now is discharge the debt with an appropriate credit, dollar for dollar. Debt must be discharged dollar for dollar in the same sense as sin was discharged on the cross. The moment the debt exists, it must be written off. The catch is we can't write off the debt because we are not in possession of the account in deficit. Our fiduciary agent is in possession of the account, so we must provide him with the tax return by the return of the original offer, so the fiduciary can discharge the liability through their internal revenue service or the bookkeeper. Most feel that when the money was taken out of society, the people became the slaves. This is not true. The people were freed from every obligation that society could create, thus freeing the people from any obligation which they may incur simply because we cannot pay a debt. Ask yourself a question. What are you charging me with? And how do you expect me to pay? Simply said, there is no money. Plain and simple for me to make the payment with, and on top of that, if I were to pay, who is paying me to pay that guy, who is paying that guy, and so on and so on. Public policy is the supersedeas bond because it limits our liability to pay. It is the more perfect contract because it operates on grace to pay our debts after we have done all that we can. We go as far as we can to fulfill the obligation, acceptance and tax return, and after we have done all we can, mercy and grace kick in, being our exemption to make the payment. Grace creates our exemption in the industrial society so long as we accept the charge. Boom.
That's what the acceptance of value is. Accept the charge. And the property tax, there's a different version of this HJR 192 that goes with your property tax that explains that they are not allowed to charge tax and demand payment with a Federal Reserve note. That's against public policy. And then there's one for the mortgage that states right in there that banks cannot lend credit. It's two different documents, but they cover the same thing, only it covers the specific cause that you're working on.
Okay, we're in question and answer mode if we've got time for it. Unless you have something else you want to say.
Well, I think I just about covered everything. I just the main thing I wanted to say to start with is that I appreciate everybody reaching out to me, and it encourages me too. And remember, be courteous enough or thoughtful enough that if you call any of us, me or Claus or whoever it is you're calling, make sure you got your information in front of you so we'll know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about. God knows what you're talking about, but God don't tell us what you're talking about. So you have to tell us, okay?
Right. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, cheating. And Delphine is asking if there's not enough room on the coupon, like it's pretty small space. You just got to cram this stuff in there.
Well, what I do, if the coupon is pretty small, that's the reason you use the whole page. Just write it catty-cornered across, and you just use the whole page to make sure you write on the coupon too, and send the whole page back. But make sure you write it either in red or blue. And when you sign it, make sure you put by before your name. So you're
Okay. I know we had Mrs. Sheep, do you have a question over? And I saw one over on the Telegram chat.
Yeah, we sent them to you. If you check your Telegram messages, Mrs. Sheepdog, she sent you 2 or 3 questions.
Me?
2 so far.
Oh, lordy.
Or you
Okay.
can read it.
We're at the question part.
Here, open it real quick. In the admin room.
Okay, got it. Joe, I've gone through Suzanne in Nebraska said to say hi too. She's in the Rumble chat. I've gone through the process with a credit card. I've followed back and sent proof of my debt with a letter that says the don't do wet ink signature and original copy before I had an opportunity to write back and ask for it. So I'm stalled and I don't know what to do next. Suzanne, if that's you from Nebraska, ask that question again, because
yeah.
Joe, I have gone through the process with a credit card. I have followed back and sent proof of my debt with a letter that says the don't do wet signature and original copy before I had an opportunity to write back and ask for it. So I'm stalled and I don't know what next. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Me either. If you send them the original coupon, excuse me a minute. If you sent them the original coupon, signed like it's supposed to be, with the cover letter or whatever it is, the document sent with them, and they sent you back, they sent her back, what was it they sent back?
They sent it just says proof of I followed back and sent proof of my debt with a letter that says the don't do wet ink signature and original copy before I had an opportunity to write back and ask for it. I'm not sure what they've done.
Well, seems to me like you said that before they got a response back from the credit card company, they sent another letter to them.
Seems like maybe yes.
That's not necessary. You should always wait for them to respond first before you. And like I said earlier, always wait for them to respond. And when they do respond, what I always do is open the first letter they send back to see what it is. It may be that they accepted everything as is, but it's very doubtful. It don't happen very often. But if they still say, well, you owe this or whatever, just right across the bottom of that letter, refer to document certified mail number, and put the certified mail number on there and put it back in the envelope and send it back to them. Do not sign it. Put a date on it, and then make a copy of it for yourself and put the date you sent it back. And when you put it back in the envelope with a stamp and everything with the address, I would also take a picture of that and put it with your file so you'll know when you send it back. And if they send you something else in the mail, and if they call you, you tell them, if you want to contact me, send it in writing by the U.S. mail and hang up. Don't talk any further. And if they send you something in the mail from the same outfit, get one of these coupons. Let us know. We'll send you these coupons. You cut one out and put it over your address, tape it on there, glue it on or whatever, but leave the return address and put it right back in the mailbox.
Kaz needs a bio break, but I'm going to ask you a question before I go. Joe, my mom was asking about her property taxes. How does she go and get it into private if she owes 2 years back taxes? Does that matter in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
No, they will not. They do not have a listing for private. They'll tell you that. What you have to do is go up there and get them to take it off the registry, because the only way they can collect taxes on your property is they have to register it as residential. Residential property is the home or the dwelling of a government official. And if you claim to be a resident, you're a U.S. citizen or you're a government official. Now, private property is not taxable. So you have to go up there and tell them, take it off the registry. And the document we have for you to send to them should stop them from sending you a tax bill. And it don't make no difference how far you are back on them. It's fraud to start with, because they cannot tax private property. And when they decide that you're a resident, that is changing your nationality. And they are not allowed to change your nationality, but they're changing you from a sovereign to a U.S. citizen. And that is strictly forbidden to change your nationality.
We also have a couple of questions with regard to, get to the Rumble chat. Hello, dear. Truth be told, raised that question about the fact that if fraud vitiates everything, let me find it again. If fraud vitiates everything, wouldn't that cover the corporations charging us when they already take it from our straw man or double dipping fraud?
Yes, it would. But now listen to this. We can do all of this all night long, every day, but you got to remember, we're dealing with the most corrupt bunch of people in the world. And they're going to do everything they can to push back. And you're going to have to stand up nose to nose with them and fight. If you don't, they're going to win. And it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be scary at times. It's going to be tiring. I know. I've been there. I've done all of it. I've been through all of it bunches of times. But if you persistent enough and stand up to them, you will prevail. I'm living proof of it. I've done this for years and years, and I know that if you're stubborn enough and determined enough, you will win. Truth always wins. It may take time to do it, but it wins. It took me almost 35 years for the truth to tell the IRS to take a hike. I haven't paid taxes, filed taxes since 1985, but it still didn't keep them from trying to come after me. But I stop them. And something else I do, and a lot of people say you don't need to be filing all this paperwork in public records. Well, I think that's what saved me all these years, because I see someone coming down the track. I would go make out an affidavit and I file it in a public records. And it's just like putting it in a newspaper. If they do not rebut it in writing in 30 days, that becomes law. So,
And you refer to public records, and we've had discussion at great length about this. Your public records is taken to the local circuit court clerk and
no.
deposit it.
It's the recording office,
Right, which is
not the circuit court. No,
well, the court clerk.
it's in the, no, it's
No.
the recording office, not the court.
I
It's the
couldn't find one.
it's where you record your deeds, your property taxes, and all. That's where it's recorded. I mean, you record your deed in public records. It's not the circuit court.
So what? Well, they turned me away and said they only recorded deeds and property records. They don't do anything else.
Well, no,
So
no.
they post something in the newspaper.
The law says that whenever they touch that paper, it's recorded. And I've got somewhere in this. As a matter of fact, I could send you a copy of the cover letter I use. And it states in there that they could lose their job and spend 2 years in jail and I think a $20,000 fine if they refuse to record it.
Okay.
And they're not supposed to even charge you anything for recording it, according to law. But I don't argue that point.
Oh, and they try to argue that it has to be a certain format and it has to be a certain way, and they do everything they can to discourage you and make you walk away.
Well, every state is different on a cover letter but you do need the cover letter because they need to know who you are and where to send the copy back to and all of this. That's their information they have to have. And it has to be an original copy. When you sign it, it has to be the original. It cannot be a copy. I did that one time by mistake. I make a copy of everything I do. And I made a mistake, picked up the copy, went down to record it. And she said, "Oh, that looks like a copy to me." And I looked at it. I said, "Yeah, I picked up the wrong one." And I said, "What if I just sign it?" Well, yes, as long as you got your original signature on there, that's all right. But I will say this, in the county I live in, they're pretty lenient about this. I have no problem. I can send it to them by mail. They'll record it and send it back. I have not had any pushback on it. Now, some other counties around me, they have some pushback, but it also depends on your attitude in a lot of times. Because if you've got the right attitude and positive about it and try to understand what it is you're doing and understand what the person behind the counter, how they are, you can usually always get it done. And you don't go in with what I call a John Wayne attitude, you're not going to get much done.
Right. Chipstein is asking in the Rumble chat, so they took our money or gold, which is how we would pay. How would that look if the states are declaring gold and silver now as legal tender? Does that make sense?
Well, whenever we get gold and silver back, then we can pay our debts, can't we?
Because that's what the Constitution
They won't
says.
have to be discharged. So, I mean, what they've done, they've took the obligation, the government's took the obligation to take care of, discharge the debt. So, like I said, instead of making us slaves, it's actually freed us. So we don't owe anything. The government owes it for us. But if you had gold and silver, we wouldn't be in this mess, would we?
Another one is asking about the HOA charges. Do you know anything about those?
Well,
that's a little different. That's
what I can say, and I'm going to make a lot of people mad, but if you're dumb enough to buy a house with a HOA you should have to pay them. That's all I got to say.
Mr.
There
Joe.
ain't no way in the world I would ever pay anybody to tell me how to live in my house and what I can do to it, where I put trees on it, or there ain't no way. I'd live in a tent first. That's the reason I will not pay property taxes, because I will not pay them thousands of dollars a year to let them tell me when to mow my grass, when to wash my windows, how many people I can have in my house, where I can park my car. They can go right straight to and stay put. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't mean to be putting people down, but
Right.
if you
Mike,
use
Commissioner,
common
Mike
sense-
knows about HOA a little bit more. Cheating, you've had some experience with HOA, but I don't know anything about how to handle that aside from just telling them they're unlawful. They don't have authority over you.
well, I don't know if they have authority, but when you go into an HOA, you sign a contract with them, so you're obligated to that. But what I'm saying is why would you want to do that?
Right.
I mean, it's way beyond me believing. Why would you do that? You know, my oldest daughter bought a place in Florida. She retired and went down there, and they bought a place down there in a gated community. And believe it or not, the HOA was $350 a month. Now, you tell me. And they were there about 8 or 9 months, and they sold and moved out of there because they could do anything they wanted to at the inside of the house, but every outside of it had looked exactly like the others. They could not plant flowers. They could not do this. They could not do that. They couldn't have people over, you know. And I asked her when she did it. It's, you know, I don't, and I see over here it says HOA is done through the mortgage. Well, why in the world would you get a mortgage if it has a HOA attached to it? That's what you know, the thing is, it makes a slave out of you. They tell you what to do, how to do, and who to do it with. And the point I'm making is that why would you do it? You know,
Right. Miss Suzanne has responded. She is saying, sorry about that, the question was confusing. They did respond to her letter asking for proof of debt. They sent all copies of past statements, but they said they did not send copy of the wet ink original contract, which she was going to ask them to send. Did she send a letter asking for the original signed contract anyway?
Yep. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you've got a copy of it, but I've got a letter to send back to them to make, you know, the proof of debt, and that's what you need to send them. And as far as what they do, they send you the whole envelope of all the payments you made. They do that to make you feel, or to scare you. Well, you paid this much. How come you can't pay the rest of it? What I do is file them in 13 as soon as I see them, and send them a letter back and tell them, prove this. You know, send me proof of debt, and they got to lawfully they have to show the wet ink signed signature of the promissory note or whatever. But they don't have it because they destroy it soon as they get their mortgage started. They destroy it. Then they sell the mortgage to somebody else 2 or 3 times. So they collect it 2 or 3 different times.
How does one, do you know how one would get out of a timeshare internationally or domestically?
No, I don't know. I don't know how, but I do have a contact. I can't get to it right now, but I do have a contact to get in touch with. And I've sent this to 2 or 3 different people, and evidently it worked because I haven't heard back from them since. So I will uh, if you'll send me
Okay.
your,
I'll have them reach out to me and we'll get them your information, okay?
okay, I'll send you the
Well, okay. I can
website.
forward.
I'll send you the website of that place too.
So, we're being asked, I believe on Facebook, I'm not sure, the method that we showed with regard to the coupon method, will that work for car payments too? Is any other document needed to send with the example on the screen?
It works for any debt,
Everything.
every debt.
Um,
Even with mortgages, uh, even though there's a different document to send with it, you use the same process for every debt.
and this whole method, somebody has asked, we're not saying go get a credit card and go charge it up and then try to coupon it off. That's not the right way to do it. In fact, that will probably blow up in your face because that's not integrity related.
Yeah, well, you want to stay in honor with all of it if you can.
Everybody.
And I'll say this. I've talked to several people that need their credit card to survive. Okay. If you need it and you use it, keep it. Because if you absolutely need that credit card to get by with, and then you try to cancel that debt or discharge it, they're going to cancel your credit card and you won't have it. So if you need it, use a little common sense.
Well, and that goes to your take care of yourself. Do your personal choices. I will say that I had several credit cards, and that's where I started. And when I got in the flow of things and started using cash, it really changed how I approach things. I saw more the evil and how it caught us awfully into their system. And I no longer have the credit card debt, in that I've taken care of that with sending letters back and telling them to leave me alone, etc. I still have 2 of the companies reaching out to me, but I just do what we talked about, put the coupon on the front of it and say, I don't recognize you, because I have sent the conditional acceptance and I have given them a timeline to respond to me, and they have failed to do that. I have also, a year ago, had a doctor's office that I was signing up with, brand new, and they called me up and said, we've got this contract. I was set for monthly visits, and so it was going to cost so much per month, and we want you to sign up and say that you'll pay. Will you pay at least this much per month to us? And I said, I'm not going to sign anything until you do the explanation of benefits and I get to see what you've billed and make sure it's correct. And they sent me the contract anyway, which I sent back saying, no, I'm not going to do this. And then I started, 2 months later, I started getting these demand letters that you're not paying your minimal amount, blah, blah, blah. And that was the easy one for me. I sent back saying I didn't contract with you. And then they kept sending me bills and I kept saying, prove me that you have this. Ultimately, they took me to collections. Collections sent me a letter. I gave them a proof of claim letter and gave them 30 days to respond to me. About 90 days later, I got a package from the collections people saying, here's what we've discovered, and it's all legitimate. And I sent it back to them and said, no, way too late, outside the window, and you have no standing. And I haven't heard from anybody since.
That's exactly right.
The doctor's office, I still periodically go, will send me a billing statement, to which I send it back to them with the coupon on the front of it, because I have not contracted with them. They've contracted with my insurance company, but I have not contracted with them.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's at. I've also done this with an automobile. Mr. Joe and Mike can tell you that, like I said, I was up in the tree, sweat some serious bullets, hid my car for a little while with the threats they had. I will tell you something I learned. I got a business card on my door. My brother came to visit, walks in with the business card in his hand, gives it to me. I knew right away that it was a repossession person that had been at my house. And I wasn't still processing. I was still very much in fear. Didn't deal with it that day because I had other things that were priority. The next day I called the gentleman and said, this is me, because the card on the back said, call me immediately. I'd like to talk to you about this. So I called and I said, what is this about? Well, this is about an order to repossess your car. Pick it up. Who has sent this order? The financial person in charge of things said that they ordered that. I reached out to both Mike and Joe. Both spoke to me. One of the things that Joe had said, first of all, Mike had said he was trespassing on your property. You should tell him he better not show back up again, which is true. And then Joe had said, wait a minute, because my conversation with the gentleman was, sorry, please don't do this. Let me call the bank first. Let me make sure they're cool, because I'm dealing with some medical stuff. My mom was having some medical stuff. I also have an emotional support animal in the car quite frequently. And he's like, no problem, we'll give you a day. Well, I didn't realize that was my mistake, because when I talked to Joe, he said, you technically just verbally contracted with that repo guy and you need to shut that down. And I woke up to that right now, sent a letter to the credit union, told them, you have no authority to authorize anything over me. You better stand down, because if you show up, you will be met with quite the force, whatever it takes to fire back, essentially. And then I sent him a letter and said, I don't know what you think happened on the telephone, but I do not contract with you, did not contract with you. And if you have proof of any authority over me, or if you have proof of the claim that you say you have, you better show it within 3 days or stand down and stay away. And I've had no problem since. I did get a letter from the attorney telling me that I was not to respond or correspond with their person at the bank anymore, to which I kind of told him he didn't get to tell me what to do either.
Yeah. Well, I sent a letter to or recorded in public records too that I do not collaborate with bar attorneys because they're communists, and I do not want them contacting me for any kind of reasons, and because I will sue you for harassment if you do.
Right. Kathy Gilhouse, I'm not sure where that question came from. There's some things to it. You're going to have to reach out to, I guess, me or Mrs. Sheepdog, and we can try to share some things with you that you would need to do with the property taxes there. That question, Mrs. Sheep, I'm assuming, took a picture of that for me. That's going to require some different steps, or go back and listen to the show. We've got some letters that go with it. Did I miss any questions, everybody?
Well, here's one asking about your monthly bills for your house. Every bill, every debt. Read this HGR 192. Pull it up on your internet and print it out and read it until you understand what it says. It says the government had take obligation for all our debts. All our debts. It don't say some or one here or there. It says all. So what we're fighting now is the corrupt people that will not accept the public policy. And they're going to go to prison before it's over, because they are breaking the law. But until then, we have to tolerate so much, but we've got to stand up and fight back.
Right.
Now, there's a couple of bills that I have not, that I sent letters to, but I never enforced it, because of the fact is, one of them is a utility bill, and my wife is not in the best health in the world, and I do not think that I should take a chance on shutting my utility bill down, because I want her to have heat and air. I want her to be comfortable while she can. And that's a sacrifice that I made. My own opinion. I could stop it, but I just won't do that. And she has a car financed in her name, and she will not let me use this process to get rid of it. But other than that, I have no debts other than my groceries, living expenses. The house is paid for. And it's been a long, hard process. I've been through everything we've talked about. And I have fought, and I've been spit on. I've been I've lost friends and family and all, but I still rely on the Bible when it says those that endure to the end will be saved. And I believe that. I read Psalms 91 every day, and I believe it. He made a promise to me, and I do my best to hold him to it. And if I, so everything we've done here, all of this stuff, every bit of it, if you will read the Bible, you will find it. You will find the answer to all of this. And you got to stand up.
We've got to all come together and stand up. There's a couple more questions, Mr. Joe. I forgot to mention Texas property taxes, KVV 68 in Rumble. Texas property taxes have proven Central Appraisal District committed fraud. I have to fight my property taxes, but if fraud is proven, what do you suggest?
Just don't pay them.
Ba-doomba.
Just don't pay them and send them a.
The answer is fraud vitiates everything. Bye-bye.
That's right. Send them a affidavit of truth. And also, this affidavit that all debts are prepaid, I think that everybody should get a copy of that, sign it, and file it in the public records. And once it's in there 30 days and they don't rebut it, it becomes law. You can even file it, send it to the attorney, the Secretary of State.
Yes.
Just you put it out there, and once it's there and they accept it,
Yeah, and it's all about there's different ways to do it. There's certain steps. Some people will say you have to do it this way. Others say this way, and that all segues, I think, to the Govinda Tidball case, which he's declared worldwide. The UCC won, and everybody's birth number, the straw man, has been taken care of. It's just we're waking them up to that information too. That's another case that we should be sharing, I think. Clearfield Doctrine.
Clearfield Doctrine.
HJR for Morignal, and truth be told, it's HJR 192, House Joint Resolution 192. I'm sorry, Joe, the Govinda Tidball would be a good one to share.
That's right. The Clearfield Doctrine, if you read that should take care of everything, because that tells you that all of it is fraud. It's just, but these people are so corrupt. They think they're above the law, and they use the fear.
Right. And so I go back to my story about the car. When I got that business card and I talked to Mike and Joe, I said, I'm just going to pay it. I'm just going to pay. I can't afford to have my car gone. And the answers I got from both of the gentlemen was, you do you, but that's what they want. They want you to pay it. They want the fear. This is what they do. And when I reviewed my stuff, when I went back through the books and the plethora of information, I didn't read them all, but when you start looking at some of this, it reaffirms I'm standing in the truth of they committed fraud. So that bothers me, and I don't like it that they're treating me that way. So I stood in that. And so that's a big, big part of it. You have to continue. And even now myself, too many questions on the walls about, have you done this yourself? Is it working? Can you prove it? I don't have to prove anything to anybody. However, I am currently sitting with my mortgage situation and the threat of the bank selling it. Now, somebody has commented that they can sell your house on the court steps. They don't have to come to your house, Mr. Joe. That's as unlawful as coming to your house and trying to sell it, right?
Well, let me tell you this. Now, if you want to stop that, you can file a RICO charges against the county sheriff. The sheriff swore an oath to the Constitution, is supposed to have anyway. Go vet him and find out if he's got an oath, signed oath, recorded. And if he does, and he gets on that church, on that courthouse steps to sell your property, you go file the RICO papers on him, and you can have him arrested. Get a U.S. Marshal, and you can have him arrested for treason right on the spot. And you can tell the people there that's bidding on it, you tell them if you bid on it, you're participated in fraud, and you can be charged for it. And a lot of people are trying to walk away, but you got to have the gumption to do it, and you got to stand up, because the sheriff is an elected official. He must abide by the law and not statutes. And if he enforces the statutes, he's committing treason. He's not. He's got to do the will of the people. He's got to protect the people and not harass and take property from them. So, you just have to be just as mean as they are and stand up to them.
Exactly. There's a question in the chat also about renting. If you've got a renter's bill.
Well, my belief of that is that if you rent a property, to me, it's the same thing as borrowing money from a friend. He's providing you with a place to stay, and I think he should be compensated for it. Now, that's my opinion. I don't believe that you should try to have that discharge. I really believe. It's the same way if you borrow money on a private loan from a friend or from somebody, you should pay it back. You should give it back. But while we're talking about this corporation stuff and you're renting, this is strictly my opinion. I can't give any advice at all. But if it was me and I was renting, I would pay the rent.
Okay.
Would.
We have a question. Please ask Joe. If we seniors sign up for the senior citizens tax freeze in our state of Missouri, would this be contracting with the government again and a no-no?
Yep. Do not sign anything with the government.
Tell them to pack sand.
That's right. Stay away from them. You are the government. Stay away from
the people. The people. Go back and listen to Trump's first inauguration speech.
And also listen to that last video that Sheepdog played before that. That ought to tell you everything.
Did you guys post that? I've seen everything else. Thank you so much for posting the HJR and some other stuff. Also, guys, at 6:33 Eastern on the Telegram wall, Mr. Joe, I can send it to you, the link to you if you want. It's an audio of the book that has been suggested, Occupation of Planet Earth.
I got that.
Liberation Manual.
I
just started to read this.
I've got it downloaded on my computer.
Okay. I just started reading this, and holy moly, guys, this goes to the biblical, why all this is so important to do the shadow work and claim and declare and come out of this freaking MK Ultra fear. Stand up for yourselves, ourselves. Stand up for your neighbors.
It's like I've said before, and I'll say it again. If you will read your Bible, you will find out everything you need to know. The Bible will tell you everything we've talked about tonight. It'll give you, there's not a problem that you ever have that you won't find the answer for in the Bible.
There it is. It's the how to live life, right?
It's also the legal document for the land.
Yes.
As well.
It is.
Yeah.
And talking about trust, it's the only real true trust. It's got, ain't no other way to say it. It's everything in there that you need to live by.
What is it? In fact, this book right here says it's the single greatest book of the history of law and government. Bible.
It's the only one with a true history.
So it's on audio, posted on the Telegram chat wall at 6:33 Eastern. I'm all set. Thank you so much, Mr. Joe. We need to talk before I come to the 25th of June if I got to show up to a sale and start telling people they're full of cockapoo.
Well, I think I've sent you copies of that RICO thing for the
Way
attorney.
back the Morvey Alliant credit
Yeah.
union stuff.
Yeah.
I sent that to the
Use
sheriff
that.
in March.
Use that, and
Okay.
get a copy of it, and have it notarized. It's better to have it notarized because if people don't know what it means to have your thumbprint on there, but you can
All
do
right.
it too. You
We'll
can put
talk.
your thumbprint on there too, but you file it against your sheriff. And of course, you'll probably have to go to court to file it, but if you get it, you can go up and present it to him or have a notary public present it to him and have them get you proof of delivery. And then if he goes ahead and does it, then he's toast.
Let's talk off. We'll talk tomorrow or something, can we? We'll talk in the next day or so.
It'll be tomorrow.
Okay.
Be tomorrow afternoon, if that's okay.
Then we're fine. Yeah, we'll get a hold of each other. Thank you so much. Anybody see any other questions? Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Sheepdog. Thank you, Joe, for coming together.
Well, thank you for your help and the sheepdogs, both of you. I love you both, and thank you so much for allowing this to happen. And you know, you've got both of my emails now, and you got my phone number. If you ever need anything from me, let me know. And I always, when I find something that I think you'd be interested in having, I try to send it to you. But here lately, I've been so doggone busy. In the last 2 years, my wife's lost 2 brothers. I lost a sister. We lost a sister-in-law this past week. The week before, she lost a first cousin, and I lost a first cousin and his wife. So this last year and a half has been, between hospitals and funerals, it's taken up a whole lot of her time. And I got a son-in-law that's supposed to be home tomorrow. He's been in St. Louis in the hospital for 3 months, and he's supposed to be coming home tomorrow. I spent biggest share today going to get in a hospital bed and a wheelchair and getting his house all set up for him to come home to, because they say they don't think he'll ever walk again, and he's only 60 years old. And you know, and I'm not complaining. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. What I'm saying is I just been busy.
And don't call on Sundays for Joe. That's family day. Mrs. Sheepdog, did you say there was something else?
Yeah, let me find it. If y'all, okay, let me find it. Okay, what about property taxes for property that is considered commercial? Can that change to private?
No, the only way that they can tax it is make it commercial. Yeah, when they put it a residential, farm, or commercial, that is all commercial. The only one that cannot be taxed is private, and you can change all of them. You just have to be persistent and go down and tell them, hey, and they'll tell you they have no listings for private, which they don't, because they're in the tax business. They don't do anything other than commercial. So you just tell them to take it off the registry. And tell them you don't, you'll sue them for fraud. You know, you just have to be, you're just stubborn as they are. You know.
Mr. Joe, if you think about it, I'm sorry. I need that timeshare information. You're going to send that to me hopefully today, tomorrow.
Yeah, if I don't forget it when I get off here, I'll get to it and send you the.
I'll remind you, and then we'll talk tomorrow afternoon. I'm sorry, Mr. Sheepdog. We done? We're good?
As far as I know.
I appreciate both of y'all.
Thank you. We got a quick student loan question. Same thing, right? Okay. Student loans do it the same way.
Student loan is a fraud. Anytime you go get a loan, when you sign a promissory note, that takes care of it. That pays for it. Your signature pays for it. And then they make you sign a contract to pay it back with interest. You've already paid for it. Any loan, car loan, student loan, mortgage loan, it don't make any difference. They're all the same.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. Prayers for your family, your situation, and we appreciate you coming on and helping educate us.
Well, I appreciate everybody helping me out with this too, and it gives me a lot of encouragement for people to ask me to help. And I cannot put my phone number or my email out on public because we cover how many countries? You imagine how many phone calls I'd be getting every day. And if you're really sincere about getting help and want to get this settled, I don't think it's too far out of the way for you to try to look up and find what my email is, because you got to put some elbow grease in it yourself. And remember, this is very important. When you contact me or Cause or Leanne or whoever that you contact for help, just remember that we want to help you. And you need to be considerate enough to understand that we want to help you, and that we can't help you if you don't do what we, if you don't file these papers, if you don't send them in, you will not get any results, and you have to do it yourself. We cannot do it for you. You have to do it, and you have to do your own research. If you don't do your own research, you don't learn anything. And I know that all of you went to school. You had to do your homework, and that's what this is. You got to do your homework. And thank you again, Sheepdog, all of you for allowing this, and thanks also for your help in the research that you put out there, and
thanks all.
Thank y'all.
Mike, you get better quick here, buddy.
Yes, we love you, Mike.
Yep.
Yeah.
Prayers and encouragement and healing.
All glory be to God.
Hallelujah.
That's it. So
Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys.
Good night.
Don't
Nightfall.
let the distractions.
Nightfall, y'all. Love and light. Love and
No.
light.
Don't let the distractions distract.
No.
That's right. Focus.
Yeah, listen up, this ain't a game. Truth Seekers 88, we reclaim no mask, no lies, no doubt, no pause. We see the system, we know the cause. We ain't blind, we raid the signs. Contracts twist, but we hold the line. Mike stands tall, the sheepdogs ride. Admin's watching, truth stays alive.